Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Hall. You may call me Dr. Kennard. We're going to start off with a riddle today on the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. You probably saw this thumbnail. What does this mean? Well, that's obviously coronavirus. And you had, I think you've all guessed this. It's late stage capitalism. It's American style toxic capitalism. And what do you get when you add coronavirus plus American style capitalism? Nothing good. Nothing good whatsoever. We're going to be covering this story from NPR, and let's get right into the nitty and the gritty about, wow, such language, nitty and the gritty. Let's do this. NPR poll: the Delta surge pushed Americans further behind in all walks of life. You're not going to be surprised, microphone, that people who aren't white got hit the hardest in the Delta variant. Microphone's not surprised. All right, let's do this thing. Links in the description below, everyone. Despite billions of dollars in relief money from federal and state governments, what we have here is a lot of people who are still one step from drowning financially, says Robert Blendon, Emeritus Professor of Health Policy and Political Analysis at the Harvard Chan School. 38% of households across the nation report facing serious financial problems in the past few months. Among Latino, Black, and Native American households, more than 50% had serious financial problems, while 29% of white households did. This disparity is echoed in many other poll findings, with the minority families being bearing a disproportionate share of the pandemic's socioeconomic impact. Sure, those are words, those are numbers, but do you have graphics to illustrate the hole that many American families are in? Yes, there are many graphics, actually. And let's start with the graphics, everyone. Serious financial problems plague U.S. households, especially among Black, Latinos, and Native Americans. The respondents were asked whether anyone in their household had been having serious problems with paying their mortgage or rent, paying for utilities, making car payments, affording medical care, paying credit cards or other debt, or affording food or other serious financial problems in the past few months. And you can see 38 of the respondents said yes to that, while Latino and Black families, 57 and 56% respectively, half of Native American respondents, 32% of Asians, and 29% of whites who answered the survey. As we've talked about before, many times on this channel, is that, and this is not original thinking, is that coronavirus just exacerbated, it made worse all of everything that was bad about the United States of America, everything that was bad about our country, it just made it worse and it just amplified it. But wait, there are more graphs, everyone. The poll showed a sharp income divide, with 59% of those with annual incomes below $50,000 reporting serious financial problems in the past few months, compared with 18% of households with annual incomes of $50,000 or more. You can see the stark contrast right here. Serious financial problems for those making less than $50,000 a year, that's 59%. And income with more than that is 18%. We've gone over before about how many people do not even have $1,000 in the bank to pay an emergency bill. And I think 1,000 is a high amount. The number I recall is $400. $400. I'm not sure about that. But the thing is, it just is crushing people who are not affluent, who aren't part of the 1%, who aren't wealthy. It just, the Delta variant coronavirus is just grinding people down. But wait, microphone, you're asking me, is there more? Is there more news? Yes, there is, microphone. all this, despite that around 2/3 of households report that they have received financial assistance from the government in the past few months during the Delta variant surge. It appears that the funding from COVID-19 relief bills, Blandon says, did not provide a floor to protect people who are of moderate and low incomes. I'm going to say it again for people in the back in the cheap seats. It appears that the funding from COVID-19 relief bills did not provide a floor to protect people who are of moderate and low incomes. Add to that, Americans are draining their savings accounts. 19% of U.S. households report losing all of their savings during the COVID-19 crisis. That's approximately 1 in 5. See, I can do some maths, maybe, and currently having no savings to fall back on. This is how things fall apart. You have one crisis that happens and people suffer. Shock to the system. And then what happens if there's another shock to the system? Well, now 1 out of 5, what is it? It's 1 out of 5 households now don't have any kind of cash cushion. So what happens if there's another disaster that happens in the next couple of months, in the next 6 months? What if there's a recession, which people are talking about, right? Inflation. Next. 19. Yes, here's the horrible graphic once again. Here's the percentage of U.S. households that reported losing all of their savings during COVID-19 pandemic and do not currently have any savings to fall back on by household income. I can just, I'm not looking at the chat right now, but I imagine those of you who are from Commonwealth countries, who are from, in industrialized countries with good social safety nets, you must be, I don't know, this must be like hearing news from another planet. Income of less than $50,000 a year, 30% have lost all of their savings. 3 out of 10 households, no savings. Those who are making less than $50,000 a year. And of course, those who are making more than $50,000 a year, 9% have lost all of their savings. More than a quarter of renters report serious problems paying rent in the past few months. And you can see this by city. Nationally, it's about 1 in 4, a little bit over 1 in 4. In Houston, over 50%. Chicago, 41%. LA, 35%. New York City, 32%. All right. I promise this is the last infographic, everyone. 1 in 4 Asian. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's like the news just gets worse. I forgot about this last one. It's like the news, because now we're going to talk about hate crimes. Right? Now we're going to talk about hate crimes. Here we go. 1 in 4 Asian households reported the fear of being threatened or physically attacked in recent months. 1 in 4 Asians, people of Asian descent, Native Americans, 22%, Black Americans, 21%, Latino, 8%, and no surprise that white people not really that afraid of being threatened or physically attacked. Once again, the rich get rich, the rich are insulated, the poor and the middle class are not. Tough news on a Tuesday morning microphone, isn't it? Tough news indeed. Going to check out the chat before moving on to the next story. And, there is some positive. There is a positive news story that we're going to be covering in a couple of seconds. But I want to check out the chat and see how everyone's doing. What's up, Dee Parks? I see you there. Tobin Templeman. Oh, that joke, Tobin Templeman. It's a joke. That's what it is. Scientists are now concerned about a new virus which could become the next pandemic, which they call the peekaboo virus. Patients who get the peekaboo virus are put in the ICU. Interesting. What's up, BigZebra.com? BigZebra.com was in the chat. That was in the after show yesterday. I had a lot of fun. What's up, Simply Secular Dave? Simply Secular Dave sent me a video on Twitter about a gaggle of orcas, maybe 2 orcas, swimming around people in a bay. And orcas are, of course, predators. And people are like, oh, look at the pretty fish. No, they didn't call him a fish, everyone. John Hudson, what's up, John Hudson? Hope you're doing well. And Dee, good morning, Dee Parks. What's up, Jess M? Glad to see you here. Yeah, I had a great time too, Big Zebra. And once again, this is a good point. If this is your first time here, we do an open room at 9:30. If you're an atheist, a humanist, a lefty, you can join us as long as, we know who you are, basically. If you join us in the chat here, then you can come on the panel, basically. I have to know who you are before you come on the panel. Tesla Ranger. Here we go. I wonder how many of the 1% lost all of their savings. All right, none of them. That's right, none of them. I'm guessing they made more money in the past year or two. Yes, Tesla Ranger, because if you've looked at how the stock market is done, it's done exceptionally well for a good portion of the pandemic. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Now you ask yourself, we're not getting to the good point. We're not getting to the positive news of this show, by the way. We're still kind of navigating the dark waters. And you're saying to yourself, well, how could this entire COVID situation be made worse? And I will answer you with one word: Texas. Texas. I'm going to share with you a video right here about how Republicans are hell-bent on making things worse for everyone. Texas governor bars COVID-19 vaccine mandates. It's a little YouTube video. It's short. It's from Reuters. And I'm going to share it with you because, once again, Greg Abbott showing us what a complete lunatic he is. And I'm going to mute my mic so we don't have an echo.
I want you to know.
Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott barred any COVID-19 vaccine mandates in his state on Monday, including for private company employees or customers. Abbott's move comes a month after President Joe Biden's call for businesses across the country to fire workers who aren't vaccinated. At least a few thousand people have lost their jobs for refusing to comply. In an executive order on Monday, Abbott said, quote, "In another instance of federal overreach, the Biden administration is now bullying many private entities into imposing COVID-19 vaccine mandates, causing workforce disruptions that threaten Texas's continued recovery." The White House had no immediate comment, but proponents of a vaccine mandate say it's needed to pull the nation out of the nearly 2-year pandemic. Tech giants like Facebook and Google have told their Texas employees to prepare their proof of vaccination before returning to work. And American Airlines, the largest U.S. carrier based in the state, told its 100,000 employees in Fort Worth to submit their vaccination record by late November or be fired. Abbott has called on state lawmakers to take up the issue in an upcoming special session.
You get the impression that the people who are messing with Texas are Texans. That the people who are shooting Texas in the foot are Republicans. That's my impression, at least. Imaginary God writes, the real joke is this economy. Yeah, real estate and stock markets are raging while we are supposed to be battling shutdowns. And you're right. You're totally right. BigZebra.com. Why is it that people who want to join the after party chat have to send a picture? That is fake news. People do not have to send any of their junk, any pics of their junk in first. That's not okay. Don't want to see anyone's junk. What's up, KCA Randy? Glad to see that you're here. The GOP has been. It makes sense when the GOP has been anti-science for so many years that they'd be pro-plague. You don't believe in evolution. You don't believe in climate change. You don't believe in the deleterious health effects, public health effects of firearms. In other words, guns make people crazy, and they just make people crazy. So it all makes sense that the GOP would be pro-plague when you consider it in the wider view of things. All right. I promised you good news. So where are we? We're 15 minutes into the show. I should mention that we're doing the after party after show at 9:30. If you want to join us, link is in the description to be on the panel. And what else? Oh, no commercials on this channel. Completely supported by you, the viewers. See, I sound like some. I always see us microphone as an angry version of NPR, right? More shouting here, right? There's more shouting here than on NPR. Much horrible production values too. Horrible production values. So thank you, YouTube members and patrons. And if you want to throw me a shekel or two on PayPal or on Venmo, the links are in the description below. I promised you good news. And this is actually good news. I just got to find it first, right? California makes it illegal to remove condoms without consent. Oh, my fictitious God. I didn't know about stealthing. It's a real term. It took me a while to wrap my mind around this too. California makes it illegal to remove a condom without consent. And this affects sex workers. Right? Let's check out the story. Links in the description below, everyone. Sacramento, California. California became the first state to prohibit stealthing or removing a condom without permission during intercourse after Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill into law Thursday. You can tell why Republicans don't like him. Oh, uncalled for. The new measure amends the state's civil code, adding the act to the state's civil definition of sexual battery. That makes it clear that victims can sue perpetrators for damages, including punitive damages. It makes it illegal to remove condoms without obtaining verbal consent. Democratic Assemblywoman Christina Garcia originally tried to make it a crime in 2017 after a Yale University study that year said acts of stealthing were increasing against both women and gay men. Legislative analysts then said that it could be considered a misdemeanor sexual battery, though it is rarely prosecuted given the difficulty in proving that a perpetrator acted intentionally instead of accidentally. The Erotic Service Providers Legal Education Research Project supported the bill, saying it would allow sex workers to sue clients who remove condoms. Lawmakers in New York and Wisconsin previously proposed related legislation. The law is the first kind in the nation, but I urge other states to follow in California's direction and make it clear that stealthing is just not immoral, but illegal, Garcia said. I'm going to put the story on pause because there's actually more good news. I've never heard of stealthing before. Maybe someone in the chat did. I don't know. I've never heard that term used. What a horrible thing to do to a person. Yeah, KCA Randy. Indeed. So there are other elements of the bill that just got passed into law. KCA, before we get into the story, I want to read this from KCA Randy. They don't like Newsom because a week after he beat the recall, he mandated vaccines. Yeah, I like him too. I like him. You're going to like him more after hearing the rest of the story. All right, where were we? Now I got to find out where we were. Here, maybe? Newsom also approved a second Garcia bill, this one treating the rape of a spouse the same as rape of a non-spouse. Now, I'm going to try to make, wouldn't you think that rape is just rape? That it doesn't matter if it's your spouse or non-spouse? Apparently that's... Okay, Newsom also approved a second Garcia bill, this one treating the rape of a spouse the same as the rape of a non-spouse, removing an exemption to the rape law if the victim is married to the perpetrator. Rape is rape, she said, and a marriage license is not an excuse for committing one of society's most violent and sadistic crimes. The exemption dates to an era when women were expected to obey their husbands. California had been one of 11 states to distinguish between spousal rape and other forms of sexual assault. There is no difference in the maximum penalties, but those convicted of spousal rape currently can be eligible for probation instead of prison or jail. They must register as sex offenders under current law only if the act involved the use of force or violence and the spouse was sentenced to state prison. On Wednesday, Newsom approved extending the statute of limitations for victims to file civil claims if they were sexually assaulted by law enforcement officers who were on duty, in uniform, or armed at the time. He also approved a bill increasing access to diversion programs for youth who commit nonviolent felonies with the goal of encouraging more rehabilitation. This increasing the statute of limitations of being able to charge police officers who commit sexual crimes, that puts a pep in my step for the rest of the day. Everyone using those old-timey time of cholera kind of phrases, sayings. It's gonna put a pep in my step. Check it out the chat one more time. Oh. Steve Brown, he means well, but he probably doesn't understand what scientific consensus is or what peer review is. You see, Steve Brown, and I'm going to take a few seconds. Peer review, the scientific process, because science is not a collection of beliefs, it's actually a process, is actually self-correcting. The scientific consensus is a thing, and it's clear that vaccines work, that masks work, and that mandates work. And now we can say that before doing this. Okay, great. Okay, so somewhere in the world, someone woke up from being 4 years plus in a coma and said, nope, put me back where you found me. Indeed. Okay, everyone. So one of the stories that we covered this morning, we talked about the horrible effects of COVID-19 on Black and brown skinned people here in the States. We talked about Greg Abbott making things worse in Texas. And of course, we just talked about the anti-stealthing law. Let's just say that Governor Newsom and the Democrats, because you know that I'm guessing that very few Republicans actually supported these measures in California. But I would say that there are some real progress. There's some real progress in California being made in terms of sex crimes. And a little bit of police reform thrown in there to boot, right? Okay. I am going to share with you something funny. Put a smile on your face. Maybe it has something to do with cats. Maybe it has something to do with a cat. Let's check it out.
Am I the only one who's running out of people they like?
I was hanging out with a friend of mine last night, and we both agreed I was more misanthropic than she is. Not a hard, I said that that's my gift to the world, actually, my misanthropic tendencies. Everyone, thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. And I'll see you at 9:30 in the after party after show, and we can talk about whatever you want, right? Within reason. I'm going to throw down my thank you video, and I'll see you at 9:30.